went for a walk down this lane in this summertime and late afternoon, lunchtime in the county of Devon. It's a beautiful day. I went down a lane. I saw a couple of the sixth formers when I was grade 12, or probably the equivalent to the first year at university in Australia, coming down the road, and as soon as they saw me, a teacher, their hands went behind their back. I know what that was, because that's what I used to do. That's when you're smoking and you're trying to hide a cigarette, a dead giveaway. And there was a narrow lane, they couldn't miss me, they couldn't turn around, so they're very, very embarrassed. And I told them, look, that's not the way to hide a cigarette. But there's no way I would discipline those kids, even though it's against the school rules, because I felt being a hypocrite. I was rebelling against those rules, and why should I sort of impose those rules on others? But then again, you're supposed to be trying to nurture these children and to respect sort of authority structures, and there was a big conflict inside of me. How much you should give liberation, and how much should you control? And that is a dilemma which many parents feel, and it's a dilemma which many couples feel, and it's a dilemma which any person in authority feels. How much should you control, and how much should you liberate? But so to investigate, what actually is this controlling thing anyway? Now when you actually start looking inside what really controlling is, and it is always trying to sort of thinking, it bases on the illusion that number one, I know best, and I'm in power to make something much better. And some of those delusions which people have, just it's an arrogance to think you know best. I don't know if any of you ever read the report on the stolen generation, but there was an arrogance there of the people 40, 50 years ago who took Aboriginal children out of their families. Imagine that was you, and you happened to be born Aboriginal, and people came in the day or the middle of the night and took your kids away, saying it's much better for the kids to take them away from their mother and father. That's what they did. And you can see there that they assumed that we're going to do something better. This was in the public's interest. This was good for you. And too often the reason why we start controlling is the delusion that we know best. And you can see just how many, especially religious people, try and exert control over others based on the assumption that we know best. And I've seen that in some forms of Christianity, fortunately not all forms of Christianity. I'm talking about the evangelicals. You see that in fundamentalist Islam. And that's something which I never want to be part of, as a religious leader. Because I see that, number one, that to say you know best. It's one thing, if you do know something, one size fits all is not accurate. And number two, very often that you are imperfect like other people, you make mistakes. And what right do you think that you know, and you've got the best idea what other people want? But you can actually see that in fundamentalist religions. But can you see that in the way you look after your kids and try and control them? Sometimes there's something called fundamentalist parenting. I know best, this is what you should do, you better do it or else. And just like a fundamentalist parent, a fundamentalist person in religion, you use all sorts of jihad against your children to make them do what you think is the best. But that's not just with children. Sometimes that's in a relationship, in a marriage. Sometimes there's a controlling partner. And again, they use all sorts of means to try and make you into what they think you should be. Now, remember when it was a child, how did you feel? Was that really functional? Did that really make you a better kid? In a relationship, a partnership between two people, is that going to really make you into sort of a more loving person? Is that going to make the marriage really hold? Or if you're in a teacher-student relationship, or like a religious leader, is that going to really make any sort of sense? That's actually controlling. So first of all, that one should really look at the fact that, does one really know what's best? And number two, is that the best way of going about it? And the other thing, is it the best way of going about it? Just controlling people. I've seen a lot of people who have had this incredible courage to give another person freedom, to trust them. And when they stop controlling, or even lessening the control, and give a person more freedom, usually the case is, in 9 cases out of 10, the person actually lives up to that freedom, and they blossom and they grow from that freedom. And all the fears which we have, oh, if I let my kid go to that nightclub, if I let my sort of wife just come home by her own, if I let my husband just go out for a meeting with his friends at some sort of bar, all those fears which one has, if one doesn't have that trust, those fears usually get fulfilled. But if you trust somebody and give them that trust, and they know you're trusting them, usually there's some other psychology at work. If you give a person freedom, very often they live up to that freedom. That's what I found. There's something there with that trust. And that sort of trust, is an opposite of controlling. It is what we mean in Buddhism by metta. Door of my heart's open to you no matter what you ever do. I trust you, I love you, I respect you. And because I give you that love and respect, I hope you do the right thing, but I'll forgive you if you don't. Because where there's control, there'll always be fear. Fear from the controller of them not doing what you want, and fear from the person being controlled of what might happen if I don't do what I'm told.